In episode 10 of 100 Goats, the 100 greatest people and events of all time you should know to be a culturally literate person, we'll cover Augustus Caesar. Born Gaius Octavius, A.K.A. Octavian, a truly paradoxical figure who transformed his era. He was the first Roman emperor following the fall of the Roman Republic, ultimately destroyed by the dictatorship of Julius Caesar, who was Octavian's great uncle and adoptive father. Julius Caesar, not having a male child, groomed his young nephew for public life, and while Octavian, then 18, was away finishing his academic and military studies, he learned that his beloved great uncle had been assassinated, an act he would devote himself to avenging. And when Octavian returns to Rome, he also finds out Julius Caesar has made him his chief personal heir, bestowing significant means upon the young man. And Octavian decides to dive right into the deep end of Roman politics. Riding the family coattails of his dead but godlike relative, Octavian quickly wins over many of Julius's still faithful troops. This was a very shrewd political move, because then in 43 BCE, only 18 months after Julius Caesar's death, Octavian forms the second triumvirate of Rome with Marc Antony and Marcus Lepidus to avenge the killing of Caesar. So the three men are given dictatorial powers, and they split the western part of the Roman Empire between themselves. But now, the eastern part of the Roman Empire had a decidedly anti-Julius Caesar bent. And it was occupied by the two men, Brutus and Cassius, infamous for having assassinated Octavian's beloved relative. Of course, Octavian is set on revenge, so he and Marc Antony cross the Adriatic Sea and kick some old-school Roman ass in the two battles of Philippi against the forces of Brutus and Cassius. Both, knowing the fates they'd face, take their own lives. Vengeance mission accomplished, but this trio was not destined to play together long because of the unruly personalities and differing ambitions of its members. Marcus Lepidus is exiled to a tiny coastal town, leaving Octavian and Marc Antony to vie for control of the budding empire. To make a fat story thin, when Marc Antony takes up romantically with Cleopatra, Queen of Egypt, and starts granting her territories, Octavian attacks Antony in the Senate as more faithful to his foreign paramour than he is to Rome. After a few years of stormy relationships all around here, a classic struggle of passionate romance mixed with civilization shifting power ultimately plays out at the Battle of Actium in 31 BCE, with Octavian's army defeating the combined forces of Marc Antony and Cleopatra. Not satisfied with just victory, Octavian pursues the star-crossed lovers back to Egypt, where under imminent threat, Marc Antony falls on his own sword and dies in Cleopatra's arms. Then she does herself in too, reputedly either by letting herself be bitten by an asp or by taking poison. This victory for Octavian not only makes him the sole ruler of Rome, but it also adds Egypt to the already mammoth Roman Empire. Only 4 years later, in 27 BCE, in an almost unfathomable move, Octavian publicly declares he will relinquish his extraordinary powers, symbolizing the restoration of the Roman Republic. He even re-engraves the wording on the facade of the building to vest power back in the Roman people. Yet, he manages to maintain complete control because the Senate grants him the title Augustus, Honored One, and confers upon him a lifetime appointment as Imperator, commander of the military, thus marking the official beginning of the Roman Empire. And Augustus leads from Rome for the next 41 years until his death at age 77 in 14 CE. But, unlike many another ruler, he didn't go overboard with his freshly minted dominion. This paradox of purportedly giving up power yet maintaining it forever results in an era known as the Pax Romana, Roman peace, which brought basically that, a period of enduring peace, prosperity, and great cultural growth to the Greco-Roman world for the next 200 years. So, Augustus Caesar was a true contradiction. Maybe in 27 BCE, when Octavian became Augustus at 36, he finally grew up. Or finally grew tired of all the warring. Granted, the modern world is a much bigger, much more complicated place than ancient Rome, but it doesn't even come close to matching a period of peace that long. Something to shoot for, I'd say. That's the dope on Augustus Caesar. Come back for the next episode of 100 Goats.